Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Let me start by making a bold prediction. The morning after Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor, MMA fans in their droves will be taking to YouTube, taking to Facebook, taking to Twitter, taking to all their social media and saying something to the effect of, "Oh, Floyd Mayweather's a bitch. He never stood in front of Conor McGregor. He never came to fight. Conor came for a war. Conor was the bigger man. Conor was the bigger puncher. But Floyd didn't want any of it, and he ran, and he cheated, and he ran." That's my prediction for exactly what happens in this fight. I've heard the fight is to be made at £154. I've heard the fight is over 12 rounds. Now, I don't know how that's been wangled, because first time I've ever seen a debutant taking their fight in a 12-round fight. But as I understand it, £154 and 10-ounce gloves in this fight. Now, clearly, Conor McGregor has certain advantages in this fight. He is the bigger man out of the two. He is the younger man out of the two. Floyd Mayweather's been retired for a certain period of time. But any suggestion that Conor McGregor, for me, can cause Floyd Mayweather problems in a boxing fight is frankly ludicrous. Don't get me wrong, if this was an MMA fight in a cage, I'd be talking differently. But what you're talking about here is the greatest fighter of a generation fighting a debutant, fighting someone who has not had a professional boxing fight before. The idea of Conor McGregor beating Floyd Mayweather in boxing is so ludicrous. I mean, unless Floyd, I don't know, breaks his hip on the way to the ring. The idea of Conor McGregor beating Floyd Mayweather is so ludicrous. It is going to be one of these fights where Conor McGregor is going to have to pray that Floyd gets struck by lightning on the way to the ring. But do you know what? I don't think Conor McGregor will massively care. This is the pinnacle of his career. This is going to take him to a new level in terms of celebrity, a new level in terms of credibility. Floyd Mayweather is not perceived to be a dangerous fighter. He's not someone like a Golovkin who's got a streak of devastating knockouts behind him. Conor McGregor may make the final bell. Floyd may take it easy. He may fight to pace himself. Now he's 40 years old, over 12 rounds, who knows? And Conor McGregor may emerge with some credibility, having gone the distance against one of the greatest fighters on the planet, in his first fight in boxing. I heard Dana White, and I like Dana White from what I've seen of him, but I've heard Dana White saying that he thinks Conor McGregor is going to win this fight because Floyd Mayweather struggles with southpaws. Let me just repeat that. Conor McGregor is going to win this fight because Floyd Mayweather struggles with southpaws. Let me ask you guys a question. Who, in your opinion, is the greatest southpaw currently active in boxing? Just have a think about that question. Who is the greatest southpaw currently in boxing? Let me ask you another question. Who, in your opinion, is the greatest southpaw we have seen in the last decade in boxing? Who is the number one southpaw we've had in boxing in the last decade? I personally think there's only one answer to that question, and the guy who is hands down the winner of that is a man by the name of Manny Pacquiao. And when Floyd fought Manny Pacquiao, and I think it's fair to say that Manny Pacquiao was the consensus pound for pound number 2 at the time of that fight, Floyd won very comfortably. I know there's still a section of the internet who think Manny Pacquiao won that fight, but that fight received widespread criticism, realistically, as to just how easy Floyd Mayweather made it look and what a dull fight it was based on the fact it wasn't competitive. So, do you know what? If Floyd can deal with Manny Pacquiao, the top southpaw in boxing and the top southpaw in boxing over the last decade or so, am I overly concerned that Conor McGregor is going to cause Floyd technical problems from the southpaw stance? Probably not. Do you know what? Let me reveal a secret on the channel. I, Boxing Gossip, am a southpaw. I am also a bigger man than Floyd Mayweather. The fact that you've got those two combinations does not mean you are going to go out and beat Floyd Money Mayweather. And you know, Conor McGregor, I actually like his persona outside the ring. He's got a bit of Tyson Fury about him. He's a wild. He's liable to say anything. He's extremely quick, and I like him. I like him. I'm not an MMA fan. I've never claimed to be an MMA fan. I understand that Conor McGregor is perceived to be a striker in the sport of MMA rather than a wrestler. I understand that Conor McGregor is perceived to be a very, very big puncher in the sport of MMA. But punching someone in those little 4-ounce gloves, you know, is very, very different to punching someone with 10-ounce gloves. That's something I can tell you. And think of the amount of world-class boxers who've struggled to land a glove on Floyd Mayweather. You know, look back at that Canelo fight. Canelo's one of the top fighters in the world. You know, look at the elusiveness of Floyd Mayweather in that fight against a guy like Canelo. Look at how difficult he was to find in the ring. And against a guy like Conor McGregor, who's clearly going to be a lot greener than a guy like Canelo in terms of his boxing. I mean, we've seen the sparring footage of McGregor and Chris Van Heerden. Surely Floyd is just going to be able to make him miss. And that's why I don't really buy into the chance of Conor McGregor having a puncher's chance in this fight. You know, like, there's two kinds of puncher's chances. Like, when David Haye fought Audley Harrison, I remember saying at the time that, in my opinion, Audley has a puncher's chance. And, you know, that's because Audley Harrison was an Olympic gold medalist with a streak of knockouts. You know, he's a very, very big guy who clearly hits hard at a decent level. That's a puncher's chance, you know. He's outclassed, he's probably not going to win. It's going to be a very, very uphill battle, but you never know. This is boxing. He could catch David Haye, he could land. Now, to that extent, you could say that anyone has a puncher's chance. You know, if my grandmother fought Anthony Joshua, she may find, you know, a massive haymaker from her handbag and, you know, clatter him on the jaw and just catch him in exactly the right place and spark him out. Now, Conor McGregor, for me, is somewhere between the two. I'm not saying that he's, you know, as up against it as my grandmother would be against Anthony Joshua. I'm perhaps exaggerating to prove a point. But he doesn't really have a puncher's chance, does he? You know, he's not got a live shout in this fight because he's not going to be able to land on Floyd Mayweather. Look, if Conor McGregor was able to stand straight in front of Floyd Mayweather and Floyd just stood there with his chin in the air and Conor was able to throw a 3 or 4 punch combination on the smaller, older man's chin, maybe at that point he's got a puncher's chance. Maybe he can win the fight at that point. But Floyd Mayweather, you know, has Floyd ever been knocked out in the pro ranks? You know, have we seen Floyd dropped in the pro ranks? You know, people argue that the Zab Judah punch was a knockdown. But my point is, Floyd is someone who has been hit in fights and he's been hurt in fights. He was hurt in that Maidana fight, but he finds a way out of trouble. But more than that, he's elusive. He's slick. He's awkward. He's got superb reactions. Even at 40, he's got superb head movement. His ring positioning is fantastic. The way he anticipates punches and counters. His footwork is also supreme. You know, this is going to be very, very different from Conor McGregor. He's used to guys running at him. He's used to guys fighting in a stance where people are going to be throwing high kicks and roundhouse kicks and side kicks and spinning back heel kicks, whatever. You know, Floyd Mayweather's footwork, there's no sparring in the world that can really prepare you for that. And I expect Floyd's wins to fight with you know, a huge amount of ease. The real question for me in this fight is, does Floyd look to make a statement? Does he look to put it on McGregor? Does he look to be hitting him with ease and regularity early on the fight and start putting punches together and try and take Conor McGregor out inside a few rounds? Or does Floyd do a classic Floyd performance? Does he coast? Does he take no risks? Does he make it nice and easy? And does he win by a wide margin? I'm sure there's going to be some MMA people tuning into this fight saying, you know nothing about Conor McGregor. You know, Conor McGregor's going to have a huge size advantage. He's going to smash Floyd up. Floyd's not going to be able to run from an animal like Conor McGregor. But mark my words, easy work for Floyd Mayweather. Understand there's a high probability of my boy Nathan Cleverly fighting Badu Jack on the undercard. And you know, that's another fight that will get my pulse racing. I know Badu Jack goes into that fight as a massive favourite, and understandably so, but for me that's got war written all over it, and that could be a quality matchup for the undercard as well. I'm buzzing for you know, this fight. It's not a fight that I'll say I'm buzzing. Let me clarify what I mean. Is it a good fight? No. Is it a competitive fight? No. Are there better matchups out there in boxing? Yes. But Floyd was retired. This was the only fight Floyd was going to come back for. He's made that clear a number of times. And as a spectacle, this is going to be so large that I genuinely believe it's good for boxing. This is going to bring, you know, a huge amount of publicity to the sport. This is going to bring in people who haven't watched boxing before. You know, some MMA fans who aren't boxing fans. It's going to bring them into the sport, and it's going to create interest. It's going to create buzz. It's going to make a lot of money, and it's going to generate a huge amount of interest. And for me, that's a good thing for the sport, even if this isn't a competitive fight. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Comments in the section below. If you've enjoyed this, hit the thumbs up button. If you're new, do take the time to subscribe. As always, many thanks for tuning into the channel.